Okay, today I wanted to talk about a game that really meant a lot to me growing up was Mario Kart 64. Back when the N64 came out, it was a system that everybody had on their radar. They really wanted to get their hands on it. So, from the Super Nintendo version of this game, I mean, they just pretty much implemented on it. They took all the concepts from the first one, like some of the shells and some of the items you could get and the whole like technical side of it, and pretty much just built upon this. So in this game, it seemed like the tracks were larger. They had more data to work with, so they could put more things in there. They could add more objects. They could add more hazards to the tracks, which made it more dynamic. So when this came out, it was just really wild to see some of the old things like manipulated into this new version of the game. And it's stuff I grew up with, I was kind of familiar with, but they added some new things in here as well, like items, and I'll go over those in a minute. One thing building upon that was the tracks. They had some tracks kind of returning from the old one, like the Ghost level and Bowser's Castle. You've seen those before, but then they added some new ones where Princess Peach had one, Toad had a stage, I believe Donkey Kong finally had his own stage in the jungle. But what was really cool about each track that made you kind of panic or get crazy with it was there was all kinds of hazards and jumps or some kind of thing you had to do in order to not wreck, or I mean, this could completely wipe you out of the race. So it was always scary because even though if you were leading or you had a head start on everybody, that didn't mean anything in this game. Actually, if you were in first, it was kind of scary driving through the tracks because the easiest slip up or hazard on the track or somebody behind you could knock you off. This they added a new shells in this where they had the green shell, the red shell before, but now they had a triple shell, which when you opened it, it gave you like kind of a barrier. So you could use this for defense, you could use this for offense. It was kind of unique. One of the worst ones, the most terrifying one, if you were like a lead racer, a lot of times you were so good that you just were in the lead like most of the race, was the blue spiny shell, which pretty much would wreck anything that got in front of it. On top of that, it went right after the leader. And it made a noise and you could hear it coming like it was a missile locking onto you, and it was super scary at that time because you knew your butt was about to be cooked. That thing hit you. So luckily, a lot of times I would save something behind me so I could offset the turtle shell, so it wouldn't knock me out of the race. But that thing was crazy. So even if you're in the front, it didn't mean nothing. Going back to the tracks, I think they had a lot of cool ideas. They, like I said, they implemented things from the Super Nintendo, but what was cool, like the ice, the penguins, snowmen on some of the ice levels. Bowser's Castle had like pitfalls where you fall in the lava. The Banshee Boardwalk had like some really weird like designs where you could go off the course easily. I remember a couple of them really stuck out in my mind more than others just because the danger factor on them was a lot crazier than some others. And one of them was Toad's Turnpike. I remember playing on that stage a whole bunch. And you would basically have to not only race, but you have to do it through oncoming and traffic being in your way, pretty much, on both sides of the road. And it was terrifying because there was times where like trucks would hit you, and then they did something really devilish, I think, in my view, is when you'd get hit by one truck, and then as soon as you got reset, you might get hit 2 or 3 more times by opposing cars coming in the opposite lane. And dude, that would just tank your whole race. I mean, it would be gone. You'd be lucky to catch up. You'd be hunting for a miracle in that sense. Another one I liked was Princess Peach's level. I think it was like a castle level. And the coolest part about that was there would be this giant ramp. You would just get all the speed going uphill, and it would propel you. I remember it would like, you'd get on these arrows and it'd give you like a boost. And if you had that golden mushroom, you could multi-boost on it, plus the speed of the arrows, and you would get so much distance in air coverage. It was crazy. But I always loved like that idea of leading up to a big jump, and then you had like opposing people close to you, because if I'm thinking right, it was at the end of the race. After that jump, it was like a hairpin or an S-curve, and then you'd be at finish line, but man, that was so fun. Yoshi's Valley was another one that was kind of crazy. I remember, depending on the difficulty, because I think there's like different varieties of each track. There was one where you had, it was like a big maze around the egg. And I remember the first time playing it, the PC went left or right or straight, and I'm trying to figure out what they're doing and where to go, and being on that map, it always got confusing to me because it would like zigzag the tracks, and sometimes you would see the other person going another way, and I wasn't sure if like there was a shortcut or if they're all the same, but it was kind of weird because, like I said, you didn't know really which way you were going, then it would all like funnel back into the same way to get up the mountain. But I like that because it added character to the map, and it just made it feel like, oh, the possible chances of collision or you to get like an advantage was like higher because everybody kind of went their own different route, but it all like kind of bottlenecked back into the same distance, so it was kind of cool. The final road that I think you unlocked in the game is Rainbow Road, which was like at the first or at the end of the finish, you could jump your cart, and if you got enough speed and jumped it, you could actually just clear all the way down the hill. But it was a risk-reward kind of track because if you weren't careful and you jumped and tried to get air, you could easily fly off the track, and that would just really hurt you. As we played it, I forgot if I read this on a magazine at the time or somebody noticed it, but word got about that there was a trick to the map where you could jump off a certain part of the course, but if you timed it just right and you jump off at the right spot, you could basically cut half of the track off in your timing. And that was a huge advantage, but like I said, I don't know how somebody figured that out, but I guess where there's a will, there's a way. Last but not least, I'm going to touch on this was the battle mode. A friend of mine used to say Mario Kart is a place where friendships come to die. And I really didn't know what he meant by that, but then when I look back and think of the times we played battle mode or there's some dirty tricks just to get ahead of everybody, it pretty much pits you against your friends like that, pretty much to be a dick and attack people or, you know, whatever it takes to win mentality. But the battle mode was kind of cool because, like I said, it was 4 players. You get it one time if you wanted, and you basically just knocked them. I think they had like 3 lives until you knocked them out. It gave you this ability, instead of just sitting there by yourself, you turned into a bomb and you basically could get revenge after you were eliminated and blow the other guy up. And it was just crazy because we'd all get it at each other's face like, you know, why did you do that to me? Or you took it personally, you know, when somebody attacked you or did something to you. And so, yeah, needless to say, there was a lot of like pushing and shoving going on after the match, but it was still fun though. I mean, we always came back to it, and it had a lot of modes. There was a lot of racing. There was a lot of new levels. And at this time, who would go to know that this franchise would go on to make like 9 to 10 or something? I don't even know. They might be on 12 games at this point of the Mario Kart series, but it just goes to show you this idea was amazing. I mean, whoever came up with this, it has replay value. They added different things to the series as it went along, but the roots to me are always going to be in the 64. That was a special time. That was a awesome game you could get shortly after the launch of the 64. This game came out, and to us, it was like we couldn't put it down. We played hours and hours and hours of it, and still this day I can go back and play this game and have fun. So, and for that time period, you couldn't beat it. It was just one of the greatest games racing-wise that I've played in a long, long time.